Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of La Marque. Good afternoon for everyone here in attendance at Council Chambers, 1109B Bayou Road, and everyone watching on Facebook, YouTube, and streaming live on our local municipality, Channel 16. I'm your Public Relations Officer, JB Pritchett, and it is always my esteemed pleasure to be with you. Thank you for joining us for our State of the City for 2023. It is a collection of information from department heads and all of us as far as staff for not only the goals that we achieved this past year, but also what we are looking for to have perfect vision for the City of La Marque as we move forward. Staff, I can speak for my fellow staff members in saying that we have collectively and culminated all of this information to be presented in a orderly fashion. For us, it is a labor of love a lot of times. Many of us are wearing multiple hats, and we are striving to be working together to be better tomorrow than we were today, and to be better this upcoming year than you have ever seen in the history of La Marque. So on behalf of my fellow staff members, I introduce you to our city manager, Mr. Cesar Garcia.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for your time. Obviously, our most valuable asset, and I really appreciate all of you being here. I'd like to take a moment to welcome all of our guests that are here with us today. Now, the lights have dimmed, so I apologize. I can't make eye contact with all of you to recognize all of you individually, but I do want to recognize some of our former council members and or board members that may be present, members of our staff who are present or who are watching online, and for all of the city's supporters who are also joining us online. I'd like to recognize our current council members that are present today here with us. Our council member Kimberly Amty, representing District A, is here present with us. I'd like to also recognize Councilman Michael Carlson, representing District C. I'd like to take a brief moment before our next introduction and want to just take a moment, a privilege to thank all of y'all for your continued support. It has been a exciting short time here, and one that I hope to continue to grow with all of you as we turn the next chapter into the next year. So thank you, all of you, for your continued support. We're excited to be here and excited to take the next steps together. La Marque is a city on the move, and we're excited to get there together. Having said that, with no further delay, I'd like to welcome for our annual State of the City, our esteemed Mayor Keith Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia, and certainly we thank each and every one of you for attending. Those of you that are with us online today, we certainly thank you for taking an interest in your city, in our city. Let me say that I am standing here representing the entire city as the only at-large elected official in our city. It is my responsibility to report to you the state of our city. And so without further ado, we will begin our report. It will be methodical. We will attempt to cover every basis, every highlight, everything that you need to know, that every department wants you to know, so that we can all have a better understanding of the status of our city government. Let me first say that the state of our city is strong. We have, as we know, had a tax rollback election. We've also had a recall election, and there has been certainly much conversation surrounding how we move forward, and we have moved through tumultuous times to a time of great opportunity. I believe that this report will reflect that. And so we start this report knowing, though we might not say it, that all of these things None of these things could be possible without our city's administration. We understand and know that Mr. Cesar Garcia has come to us and has worked diligently to move our city forward. So keep in mind, as we speak about what has happened this year in our departments, let's understand and know that Mr. Garcia and the city administration has been at the center of it all. We start this report today with our police department, because when you elected this council, one of the first and foremost priorities that you gave us was that you wanted a safe city. And this council really believed in the idea of a safe city initiative. And so this past year, our Safe City initiative was kicked off community-wide with community policing projects within all 4 regions of our city. And because of that, and because of partnership with many other law enforcement entities within our county, we have seen a 31% drop in violent crime in the last 2 years, with a 13% drop coming in 2022. A 30% drop in property crime in the last 3 years, a 29% increase in DWI arrest, a 130% increase in drug arrests from 61 in 2021 to 140 in 2022. Our police department, our telecommunicators responded to 40,524 calls for service over the last 3 years. This is a 2% increase from last year, with 50% of our telecommunication staff for most of the year. And we want to be clear, not 50% of our law enforcement officers, but 50% of those persons that intake those calls and then dispatch those law enforcement officers. And that in itself is a tremendous feat. Along the way, we were awarded the TAPS grant so that we can do our part in preventing teen violence, because we realize that many of the murders that have happened in and around our city happen as young people being victims and perpetrators. Perhaps if we were able to impact their lives before these tragic occurrences, we might be able to save some of those lives. Also, the police department, our city was awarded $750,000 for a COPS grant for 6 new police officers. Overall, crime is down over the last 2 years, and we were a finalist for a public safety award at the recent Texas Municipal League Conference, and I believe we have been recently awarded an award for our efforts in public safety, and you'll hear more about that in the very near future. Is our police department perfect? Absolutely not. Are the men and women of the La Marque Police Department perfect and sincere in their hearts? Certainly they are not perfect. None of us are. Sincere in their hearts, we endeavor to be. And we know as the years go by, as we continue to support our law enforcement community, supporting them with appropriate wages, and we've done that. Incidentally, we've agreed with the La Marque Police Officers Association for a contract that we hope would keep and recruit some of the best officers in this county. We've agreed to that contract with them. We've agreed to provide more resources for them. But we do know that it is also our responsibility to evaluate our police department through our city manager. And certainly we will continue to do that as a council. We'll continue to work with our city manager. He will continue to evaluate our police department. And we as a council will continue to make the necessary directives so that our police department can be the best that it possibly can be. This is not only something that we want as a council, it's not only something that you want as a community, but most importantly, I can guarantee you, this is something that the La Marque Police Department, rank and file, every member wants for themselves and for us as a community. Our fire department this year was successful in passing a new EMS billing contract, which we hope will produce more revenue. And that's a theme you will find in the direction that I believe the council intends to go. Service-based budgets, fee-based budgets. And part of that is our fire department finding an EMS billing service that would respond to us more appropriately, thereby allowing us to be able to realize more financial resources so that we can continue to keep our fire department moving forward and continue to provide the services to our community that we so desperately need. Along the way, we found that our fire department was desperately overworked. To a person rank and file, they have worked more overtime than any other department in our city, responding to 6,235 calls for service last year alone. And we're proud of them because they, along the way, instituted a child safety seat program where they installed 65 child safety seats and donated 23 other new seats to members of our community, as well as completing 270 hours of fire and EMS related training. Our fire prevention department within our fire department responded to 127 inspections, made 2 arson arrests, and reviewed 34 plans for new commercial structures and installed 13 smoke detectors. That is an effective fire department. Our finance department this year, for the 5th year in a row, received the Excellence in Financial Reporting Award. They balanced our budget this year despite the rollback election and the results of the rollback election, as well as many fiscal challenges. And some of those fiscal challenges, if you remember, were those 6 department heads that left our city. And when they left with benefits, sick time and vacation time, and those benefits had to be paid out. And that was upwards of $500,000, along with roughly about $800,000 as a result of a rollback election. You can see there were financial challenges, and through it all, our finance department was able to execute according to the vision of this council and this manager. We're transitioning to a service-based budget or a fee-based budget. Because we believe that property taxation is an antiquated form of taxation. It is perhaps even an unfair form of taxation. And so as a city, we believe that it is appropriate for us to move to fee-based services in order to fund our government. And one of the ways that we're able to do that is through working with our finance department. We also received this year an unmodified comprehensive audit score from a new auditing firm. And so the economic future that has been provided for us also by our finance team is a positive one, in particular in the area of sales tax. And Ms. Koo and her team has studied this for quite some time. I believe we have had 10 years of increased sales tax revenue in our city year over year, as well as in the last 6 years, we've set records, I believe, in our sales tax revenue. Again, moving our city away from a property taxation type of a government toward a fee-based and a sales tax-based form of government. And so in 2020, after 2021's financial decline, due to many of our departures, as we said before, and due to many of the restraints of COVID, even after those things, in January of 2023, last month, our city's reserve fund was still above 90 days. And 90 days is the standard across this state. And so we're appreciative of Ms. Koo and her team for keeping us financially viable in certainly uncertain and trying fiscal times. Our economic development department has begun working with the new development of this new entertainment center at the old dog track fight. site. They are working with the JMK5 development team to provide a state-of-the-art dog track, a state-of-the-art concert and event venue at the old dog track site. This facility will, it's to my understanding, seat 12,000 persons. It will have at least one hotel associated with it, and other retail and entertainment establishments surrounding it, making it the premier event and concert venue in this region. There are no other event and concert venues in this region outside of, I believe, the Smart Financial Center in Sugar Land, which seats about 5,000 to 6,000 folks, and the Toyota Center, which is a basketball arena, which is converted into an event venue. And so certainly there is a great opportunity for us to realize sales tax revenue, to realize hotel motel tax revenue, to realize jobs, and to provide an economic engine that will provide for catalysts for many of our other economic endeavors all across this city. As we said before, since 2012, our sales tax has increased year over year 100%, with 6 record sales tax years in a row. But we also want you to realize through all of this, the EDC has been a partner to small businesses in our community as well. And how have they done that? They have, with the support of the council, infused over nearly $1 million into 124 of La Marque's small businesses with an emergency program in the early stages of COVID. The goal was to support La Marque businesses that were negatively impacted and affected by the pandemic. And those efforts are still being felt in our city today. Also, they've been working diligently on our La Marque Renaissance Downtown Revitalization District. And plans are underway to renovate the exteriors of 1131st Street and 418 Lowell Street, thus taking the next steps to revitalize our downtown. Once the county is finished with their portion of the streetscaping, 19 new additional light poles will be installed in our downtown areas. Pole bases should be poured over the next 2 weeks. And they'll spend nearly $1 million in revitalizing streets, not only in the downtown area, but with the partnership that we have made through our bond election, our street bond election of 2017 with Galveston County. They provided for us another $1 million to make sure that our budget for streets was $3.7 million this year instead of the $1.7 million that we previously thought that we would realize. And so the point of this part of our report is to say our Economic Development Corporation does more than just recruit, retain, and attract businesses, but they have been in many ways a stabilizing force, not only in the infrastructures that businesses need to survive, but even in the case of COVID, they have been the stabilizing force for those businesses' survival. And certainly they've invested in downtown businesses this year, in Evelyn's Alterations and Benito's restaurant to improve those businesses. As well as many advertising and video projects such as Shine on La Marque, a video series that was launched in 2019 to try to make sure that we are attracting as many viable businesses to our city as possible, but to also give us as a community an idea of what our businesses and what our community has in its offerings as far as amenities and as far as businesses. Now, here's one of the things that I would like to say to you as far as our Economic Development Corporation, and is this. There is tremendous amount of work being done in our downtown area because it has been the belief of the late, great Chairman Ron Crowder and the Economic Development Corporation, and the belief that I hold as well, that our downtown area can be a viable tourism and tourist attraction. We believe that. We believe that if the city of Kemah can transform itself into a tourist attraction in the way that it has and the tremendous impact that it has, well, we as the neighbors to the south have the opportunity to do that. Maybe not on as grand a scale, but certainly with a significant impact to our community. And that's the plan. That's why it's a downtown revitalization. Ultimately, we want to make this the hub of our community. We want to make sure that there are services, that there are businesses, and that there's an attraction not only for us as a community, but an attraction for folks that want to visit our community. And we want to continue to work with our Economic Development Corporation to make this a reality. And not only that, but there are other areas that we want to work with our Economic Development Corporation. The dog track site, again, continues to flourish. And there are other areas of economic development that are in the works that we're not ready to announce to you as of yet because they're in developmental stages. But here in the next recent moments of our future, you will hear more about those as well. Speaking of developmental services, many people don't know that it is incumbent upon them not only to improve planning for our subdivisions in our neighborhoods, but also to approve planning for retail, commercial, and major developments as well. And they've been busy this year approving over 250 new homes, including landings at Delaney Cove, the Ambrose subdivision, Sunset Grove, and trails at Woodhaven Lakes. They've held 51 developmental meetings. Think about that, 51 developmental meetings with prospective business owners to include Palm Professionals and JMK5. And we want to thank our Developmental Services Division for all of the work that they provided because our city is in the state of growth. We are the second fastest growing city in this county, and we certainly have the largest stretch of undeveloped land connected to I-45, and so growth and development is at its peak in our city. And we've seen our Developmental Services Department go from a department of few to a department of several, still being overworked all at the same time, but they are certainly doing the job to make growth conducive in our city. Our Code Enforcement Department, through partnership with the KLMBC, the Keep La Marque Beautiful Commission, has brought our litter bus back, and it is in rotation in the community with service hours to assist in the cleanup of our community. We realize that part of any Safe City initiative is a clean city initiative. And certainly we take pride in the opportunity to keep our community clean. As far as code violations in the year 2022, they cited 128 garbage and trash violations, 517 high weeds and grass violations, 166 junk vehicle violations, 8 livestock violations, 225 signs in the city right-of-way violations, 80 stop work order violations, 28 substandard structure cases with 152 unlawful deposits. I believe that's unlawful dumping. 83 public nuisance cases with 54 demolitions, some emergency and some voluntary. Our code enforcement department is diligently working to continue to clean our city because a clean city, again, is a safe city. Our Public Works Department has begun working on phase 3 of the street lighting initiative. Over 130 lights being converted to LED. That's 12% of those lights of our entire city. And they have received many grants for sidewalks in our community. One of them is a $2.3 million sidewalk and pedestrian safety grant on Main Street. And we remember Ricky Rojas. We remember that young man that was killed in an auto pedestrian accident on Main Street. And this is certainly good news for our community as we try to keep our streets safe, especially for the young people in our community. They've also launched the Public Works Department and updated a capital improvement plan through community input meetings this year. They've kicked off the 2020 Bond Street improvement projects with 13 streets being repaired. It's 70% complete, and we have, as a result, we'll have repaved 5 miles of our city. We know that there has been work done on Bayou, on First Street, and Edgar, and many other streets throughout our community. They've also accepted $4.1 million of an MIT MOD allocation, and we've held, as a council and as a city administration, meetings so that we can understand what our community wants us to do with that $4.1 million. And we believe it to be to begin repair of water lines in District D. There are major water line leaks in District D, which is one of the older districts in our community. That district is represented by Councilwoman McAuliffe. And those water leaks are causing a tremendous amount of water loss. We as an entire community have to pay for that water loss because, and when we buy water, we all buy it together. And so the community, the council, the administration, we all believe together that we ought to invest in major water line repairs in District D or in the eastern portions of our city. Again, along the way, the Public Works Department secured grant funding in the tune of $665,550 to repair an old bridge along the Highway 3 corridor, as well as securing partial grant funding for $500,000 worth of sidewalks on Highway 3, $200 million more of sidewalks on Texas Avenue. Again, trying to ensure our community be safe as possible. A walkable city is a safe city. Our Public Works Department repaired, I believe, 3,260 feet of streets. I believe that's what Rick wants me to tell you. I hope that's what he wants me to tell you. If not, we'll certainly clarify that. 592 water leaks. They've responded to over 1,000 sanitary sewer backups, and all of these were above and beyond 2021 and 2020 totals for our Public Works Department. They have overhauled their team, hiring new directors and customer service assistants, administrative assistants, and wastewater operations supervisors. And they've even formed a new street maintenance team with regular pothole repairs, even installing 50 stop signs along the way. They've adopted a conceptual parks master plan along with the work of the Parks Board as well as the City Council, and a 10-year approval from the Texas Department of, I believe that's Parks and Wildlife, thank you. Securing also a $30,000 game time grant for 3 new playgrounds coming by the summer of 2023. Again, our Public Works Department is moving forward, and they ought to be commended for the work that they've done in our community in a short period of time. But we do recognize they are severely understaffed. And part of our responsibility as a community and part of our responsibility as a council is to make sure that they are working as efficiently as possible. And certainly that's an endeavor that I hope that the council will take this coming year. Our city clerk's office successfully launched a new open records request software to meet the growing demands of this service requested by the residents. She also completed the charter review process. She completed the redistricting process, facilitated 2 special elections in 2022 calendar year, a rollback and a recall election. She completed necessary records retention and maintenance and digital archiving, resulting in 14,000 pounds of documents being recycled. All of this with her department staffing being reduced to 1 personnel from the budgeted 2.5 personnel in our fiscal 21-22 budget. our Human Resources Department has been there to advocate for our employees for several years, and certainly I personally want to thank Miss Patty Reese for her 15 years of service with the City of La Marque. We want to thank her for being the trailblazer. She is the mother of our Human Resources Department. She's the originator of that department, and she is owed a tremendous amount of gratitude, not only for that, but for all of the wonderful things that she's done to move our city forward. One of those things is she spearheaded the effort to work with the summer internship program, the young people from our community that came to work with our city staff members side by side, learning what municipal government and public service is all about. Miss Patty was the person who coordinated that entire program, as well as the person who coordinated all of the benefits for our staff, as well as making sure our training and our testing and all of those human resources areas of compliance were done. And again, we move forward knowing that we would not be where we are as a human resources department without Mrs. Patty Reese. Our IT facilities and emergency services, PIO and events department, that's an eclectic group. They've done many things this year, many things in our community, such as working with a food giveaway partnership with the Salvation Army that helped to feed over 150 families. They hosted a hurricane huddle to educate residents on how to best prepare for storm, completed a manpower analysis for and with our police department. They held and partnered with many city-sponsored events such as the big Crawfish Bash, the Juneteenth event, the National Night Out, the Bayou Fest, the Coffee with a Cop, the Trunk or Treat, the holiday parades, and many events of public and community service such as town hall meetings and state of the city addresses. Tremendous amounts of work and tremendously varying types of services. Our public relations portion of this department provided new digital content to inform the public of work being done in and around our government. Many of you have noticed Mr. J.B. Pritchett doing innovative things, trying to provide innovative ways of informing and educating our community members, such as La Marque Live and things of that nature, all in efforts to try to provide information in a way that our community can receive it so that we can all be informed. 2-Minute Tuesdays is another way as well. Community conversations is a third way as well. Again, this is a new department. Mr. Pritchett is a new employee. This was the first year of this position. This position is quickly evolving into what we need in La Marque, and we look forward to all of the wonderful things in store. Our library department has saved $115,875 using library resources in fiscal year. The cardholders, of the library has saved $115,875 using library resources in fiscal year 2022. Many of you know the library is more than just a place that we collect books. We have computers and we have access to the internet. And so many people who don't have those electronics or access to the internet use the library to conduct business at the savings of tremendous amounts of money. As part of the library's budget allocation, new carpet tiles were installed throughout the building. The library's collection development policy was revised and updated and approved by the City Council. 2 new programs were added to the library's weekly schedule: an anime club for young adults and a spin yarn, knit and crochet crafters group. And you all can certainly see that I have not visited that group yet, but I'm sure it's exciting. Our staff, definitely under Miss Amy's leadership, partnered with several community organizations and shared events including Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Gulf Coast, Galveston County Food Bank, Texas Independent School District, the Galveston County Health District, the Rotary Club of the Mainland, the Salvation Army, the Boys and Girls Club of Texas City, among others. Community events were hosted at the La Marque Library this year, including back-to-school events with Mainland LULAC and an annual trunk-or-treat program. And so for 2023, the library will work to increase community connections and serve as an avenue to meet social service needs of our community. And let me say this about our library. And certainly we know Mr. Tom Hansen has been a staple of our library for years, and he is definitely a friendly face and an effective voice for our library. But we also want to acknowledge the leadership of Mrs. Amy Miller, who has led our library through a challenging time for all libraries. What do you do when books go from being hard copies to digital components on smartphones? And so let me say the things that she's been able to accomplish, becoming a community base, offering partnerships and meeting places, has not only provided for services for our community, but I think it is certainly going to be a foundation for what libraries look like in small towns for years to come. So we want to thank Mrs. Amy Miller for her work in our library, and we just wanted to shout out Tom Hansen because he's a really, really cool dude. Now, our administration has worked this year on an ARPA survey to get public feedback to see how we are to spend those grant funds that we've received this year. We've had 6 of our administration members become certified public manager graduates. They have worked with the Southeast Texas Housing Authority for $50,000 of grant funding to assist our community. They've also strengthened relationships with the HGAC, which is the Houston Galveston Area Council, including joining their Corporation for Regional Excellence to expand our 501c3 opportunities. Again, our administration has been led by Cesar Garcia, and we thank Mr. Garcia for his leadership. As with any administration, in any leadership, there will be challenges, and we know that. Change is challenging. We understand that as a council. We understood that as a council moving forward. Change has been difficult for us as a council. Change, I'm sure, has been difficult for Mr. Garcia and members of this administration. Change has certainly been difficult for our departments and many of our staff members. But we know that change has been difficult for members of our community. But we all know at the base of it all, change is difficult. And so we have to remain committed to change. Now, I wanted to also add, because we don't want to leave any departments out, we have hired a municipal judge, and our new municipal judge has begun working with our municipal court division. And I wanted to say that in 2022, our warrant resolution project yielded 295 cleared warrants for a total of $75,000 collected. And we didn't want to leave them out. Mrs. Rosemary Bell and the staff members of the municipal court worked diligently, day in and day out, to process court. And certainly they go unnoticed, except for times when we are in distress. And we don't want to leave them out. We want to honor their accomplishments as well. This year, as we move forward to our future, this year you will see, as a community, we will see $48.9 million of sewer overhaul. That will be a wastewater treatment plant that will double in its size, that will be renewed and rehabbed lift stations, as well as long stretches of important sewer infrastructure being repaired and replaced. This year, for those members of Melody and Mary Lane. You will see your drainage concerns resolved. This year, I believe this spring, we will see work beginning on our Mary and Melody drainage project. This year, our community will see $7.5 million of manhole rehab. This will again assist in our sewer infrastructure, which will also assist in our ability to drain our city. Many people don't know that one of the issues we have with draining our city is that our sewer system is in desperate need of repair. Once this happens, it will alleviate much of the stress on our drainage system, and it will allow us to begin a more intent focus on our drainage system. This year, you will see a transformation of the Gulf Greyhound dog track and the surrounding area. This year, you will see the continuation of a revitalized downtown. This year, you will see us navigating the growing of a West Side population and addressing the need for more human resources on both ends of our city, primarily in our public safety departments. We never want to leave either parts of our city out. We know that there is a traditional part of our city that has been here since the 1950s and before. We know that there is a new, growing, robust part of our city that has been here within the last 10 years, and we know that both of those are part of our city. And so we know that both of those will need new resources and human resources, but we have to navigate the needs of our West Side population. We cannot continue to see growth and not realize that growth will mean more services. We're naive if we're to think that growth does not mean added service. This year, we hope to expand our car seat and our smoke detector programs, as well as developing a community CPR program and our fire accreditation process. As your mayor, I pledge to work with our council, and let me acknowledge our council. Certainly, our council is a tremendous council, in which I am only the leader. I am only their leader because I am the only at-large elected official in our community. But make no mistake about it, this city does not move without Mayor Pro Tem Joe Compion. This city does not move without Councilmember District D, Casey McAuliffe. This city does not move without Councilmember District C, Michael Carlson. And this city does not move without Councilmember District A, Kimberly Yancey. They are the nucleus and the foundation of the people's government, and they are the catalyst of any and all change you see. I am simply their leader and their spokesperson by proxy. But all of the work that we endeavor to do is initiated by our council. And we thank them for their service, and we thank them for their commitment. And so as we move forward and continue to be a public safety community. I pledge to continue to be a public safety mayor, leading the council, a public safety council, and the city manager, who has proven to be a public safety city manager, toward building a safer La Marque. We understand and know that means that crime has to continue to go down, but make no mistake about it, we understand and know that means that we have to take a thorough look at all of our police department to make sure that we are not only giving them the necessary tools to do their job, but to make sure that they are a reflection of the will of our community, all of our community. And certainly we want to make sure that as we look at this new study within the next few weeks in this department, that we're making changes to make sure that our police department is being accountable, not only in our community, but be accountable even within our department. We continue to strive to be the safest city in Texas. We'll continue to work with the council. I'll continue to work with the council and the city manager to assess the public works department. And what I mean by that is our public works department is small. I believe it is one of the smaller public works departments for a city our size. And so when we say, I would like the council to look at this department and I would like the city manager to look at this department, what I'm saying is this. I'm saying we have to figure out with Rick and his staff what we do well as a small town, as a small department. And we have to focus on those things that we do well. And we have to then begin to invite others into the process of rebuilding and maintaining the city in areas that we are not effective and in things that we don't do well. We may be the best at hanging a traffic light, but we may be absolutely horrible at maintaining our ditches. I'm asking the council to work with Mr. Garcia and work with our Public Works Department to understand what we do well. Focus on that so that we can allow for the assistance of professionals and experts in other areas of need. And for me, that means no job layoffs. I'm not advocating for council to consider any job layoffs. I'm advocating for us to streamline our service deliverables. I'm not advocating for any layoffs. As council and as mayor, I'm advocating that we work as a council and as a city manager to approve a financial plan for our city. And this is an idea of Mayor Pro Tem Joe Compion. He has advocated for our city to adopt a financial plan. I believe we are at a space and time that we have the opportunity to adopt a financial plan. And I would encourage the council to work with Mr. Garcia and work with our financial department to adopt a financial plan so that our community can clearly see the challenges that we have to provide the services that we need, but so that they can also see the appropriate levels of funding so that we would meet those challenges. As your mayor, I intend to work with the council and the city manager to provide more service opportunities for our youth, recreation, internship, and engagement program. And I stand with Councilmember Michael Carlson as he has continued to work tirelessly to resurrect Mahan Park and to resurrect the La Marque Girls Softball League in an effort to do just that. If we want to encourage our young people to take a more positive path in our community, we have to provide for them the opportunities to take those positive paths. And I stand with Councilmember Carlson, and I look forward to working with him as we provide those positive paths for our future. I, again, as the mayor, pledge that we as a council work with the EDC to recruit and retain small businesses so that they can move into vacant and commercial structures within our community. I stand with Councilwoman Kimberly Yancey as she has been extremely passionate about making sure that every vacant structure in all of our community has a business owner, so that we would be able to have retail offerings and commercial services in the more traditional parts of our community, as well as so that we would provide opportunities for entrepreneurship for many of the young and eager entrepreneurs. I mean young in entrepreneurship, not in age. The young and eager entrepreneurs that our city has to offer, and I stand with her in that passion, and I hope that our council and our economic development corporation would stand with her as well. Again, this council is moving toward a more transparent and a more engaging council. Councilwoman Casey McAuliffe has led us to reinstituting 2 regular monthly meetings, city council meetings, and so we will move back to a 2 meeting per month model. I'm going to rib Councilwoman McAuliffe because I think that it is ironic that she led us in this endeavor, knowing that she only has a few short months to go as a council member. Councilwoman McAuliffe chose not to seek re-election this year. As well as hosting public forums for our community. One of the things this council has done over and over again through times of clarity and times of contention and times of crisis is we have always provided for times of public discourse. We have always tried to provide as much information as we knew at the times that we knew it for our community. This is the second annual State of the City. This is the second annual report card for our community, because we want to be as transparent as possible. Let me, before I thank our staff members, let me close on this note. You've heard me say this in this address, as well as in some of our town hall meetings. Property taxation is unsustainable. I'll say that for you again. One of the primary ways that municipal governments are able to raise revenues and fundings so that they can provide services is through property taxation. That is an old and antiquated form of funding. It may be a necessary evil at this time, but it ought not be the goal. I want you to remember something about what we are sharing with you today. This city is moving first and foremost toward a fee-based budget. This council has moved the city towards a fee-based budget. What does that mean? That means that the services that our community members choose to access, instead of taxing all of our community members, perhaps those community members access some of those services and then participating in fees. What does that look like? For an example, that looks like perhaps us making sure that our water infrastructure is maintained, instead of providing for exorbitant levels of property taxes. Maybe the council can lead the community to agreeing on a fee that we pay within our water bill, $1, so that only those that access our water infrastructure are having to pay for those services. And we can have a grand discussion on what that looks like. The idea is, it is I believe, as your mayor, it is our responsibility to explore that as a council, and I intend to work with the council to explore that we might ultimately lower property tax. Secondly, remember that La Marque has the largest stretch of I-45 in this county. La Marque has the largest stretch of undeveloped land on I-45 in this county. That means commercial development. It started in South Houston. It's made its way through League City, through Dickinson, through Texas City, and now it's our turn. That also means that increased sales tax revenue is available. That means that as we increase our sales tax, as we increase the development of the land on the I-45 corridor, there is an opportunity for us to lower property tax. All these things are wonderful opportunities for us as a municipality. And I intend on leading us to a place that our council can declare through planning, through financial planning, that we might be able to lower our property taxes. It may not happen tomorrow, but definitely if we have a plan, we know that it can be within our grasp. And I'm asking council to work with our government, with our finance team to do just that. Remember, before we go, we want to thank each and every member of our service team, not only the city manager and his staff, but also every department head. We want to also thank every member of the appointed staff of our city. That means people that help us pay our water bill, people that assist us in the library, people that help to repair potholes. All of us are vital members of this team. And we want to thank each and every one of you for your service on this year. This year has been rough for you, I am sure. Again, change is not easy. This time has been rough on you, I'm sure, because with change, there is uncertainty. But you can know that we in this city have seen our worst. We have been through one of the most tumultuous times our city has ever seen, and we are better for it. We're better for it. We're better for it because the members of this community stood up and participated in their local government. Whether we understood or liked the tactics, or whether we understood or liked one side or the other, democracy happened in our city, and we're stronger for it. Now let us get on to moving forward with the business of this great city. And we can only do that by making better decisions, being smarter, and being wiser. But ultimately, the way we do that as a community is by moving forward together. And so my prayer is that every member of this city, every member of our staff, every elected official, that all of us have a prosperous 2023, and that God would bless us. And my prayer is that God would bless this great city of La Marque. Thank you all for your time.